Hi, I'm Matt.
And I'm Yasmin, and this is Life's Hard. What's next?
So we're talking about something a bit different today. We kind of had a bit of a thought to ourselves that what's something that everyone basically goes through or deals with. And the overall topic came up of social media.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's lots of different aspects that we're going to tackle this one, so it's probably going to be a multi
A
part.
mini series.
Yeah. Um, we're probably going to tackle it from the mental health aspect, the human aspect, and the security aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Just because all three of them are actually quite important to sort of A, understand, B, how to get around it,
Mm-hmm.
sort of techniques on what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's quite good because our professions and studies and all that probably come in a bit more helpful to this kind of topic, wouldn't you say?
Well, yours with your IT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then also from an optometry point of view, we know that there's certain stuff that impacts that. So
Yeah. We're definitely having to have huge conversations with parents and teenagers about spending more time outdoors
mm.
and less time doing close work, which for most people means less time on social media.
Yeah, so I mean, the big thing with our industry at the moment with optics is that there is a progression of what we call myopia, so short-sightedness.
And short sightedness means that you can see close, but you can't see far away without your glasses on, to be clear.
And the big issue is that it's primarily in kids.
Mm,
So as an industry now, our whole sort of goal is to try to prevent kids from getting more and more myopic, and the main aspect to it, not it's not actually social media, but social media has a part to play with it.
mm, mm-hmm,
But it's more about what we call up close fixation, so staring at a computer screen, staring at a book, all
mm,
those kind of things for long periods of times.
mm-hmm.
Quite interesting, there was even studies showing that through COVID,
Mm,
myopia progression shot up.
yeah.
And you also find myopia progressions quite bad for in like quite highly dense populations.
Mm,
And again, it's because they're always fixating up close.
yeah. Not spending enough time outside.
Yep,
Mm,
quite interesting, really. But yeah,
yeah.
so where do we want to kick off with this one?
So we could get started just talking a little bit about our own experiences, I guess. I mean, you've done a bit of research as you usually do
I
and
got
have
told to.
have some statistics. You say it like that, but you love it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
You're an information statistics person, definitely. Well, more
yeah,
than me. I'm
yeah.
like, let's talk about our feelings. And Matt's like, okay, but what does the data say? And don't get me wrong, I'm interested in what the data says too. But it's definitely more your avenue than my
Mm,
avenue. But yeah, I mean, I think about social media a lot. I, like most people, probably spend way too much time on social media. And I do think that there is good in social media. I think there are good aspects of it. And
yeah, one hundred
we
percent.
will, yeah, likely do an episode about that, slash, you know, talk about that at some level on one of these episodes. But I do think that social media overall is probably more net harm than net good. And unfortunately, the more time you spend on it, the more you get sucked into the net harm. And I know for me, the major thing about social media that I find challenging, or I should say the two things, are first of all, it's a highlight reel.
Yep.
Everyone posts their good moments, their engagements, their job promotions, their travel, and nobody posts the hard things in their life. So you jump on social media and maybe you're having a bit of a shitty day or you're feeling a bit sad or you're doubting some aspect of your life and you see everyone living out their lives in this amazingly fabulous fashion and the best moments of everyone's lives, and it's really easy to get really down on yourself.
Oh, 100%.
Like I remember one year my parents were overseas for Christmas, you were at your parents for Christmas, and I was just with my brother for Christmas. It was just me and him. And I remember he had a migraine, so we kind of had planned to try and do something, but we didn't end up doing a lot because he
But
wasn't feeling well.
bit hard on Christmas anyway when everything's shut and all that, eh?
Well, that's the other aspect, of course, like living in a country like New Zealand, even though people aren't religious, most people celebrate Christmas, so everything's closed on Christmas Day, or most things are closed on Christmas Day. And then it just became a day of me just sitting in my room feeling sorry for myself,
Watching everyone else.
looking at everyone's like picture perfect Christmas family photos, and like there's that saying that comparison is the thief of joy, and social media is just like the absolute epitome of that.
Mm. Oh, and yeah, we don't. In my family, we don't take photos at Christmas, so
No, you
so
guys don't.
so you're fine.
Although I've started a tradition of taking a picture with Teddy.
Yeah, true. You have. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only photos that are taken on Christmas Day. Um, but then like even on a slightly different level to events like Christmas, I remember last year, like 50% of the people on my newsfeed were in Europe
Oh,
last, our winter,
yeah,
their
yeah, yeah.
summer, right?
Well, it's also because people could leave the country properly.
Yeah, oh, 100%. But like again, it's so easy when you're just like waking up to drag yourself to your job on a freezing winter morning to look at everyone in Europe and be like, "Oh my god, why does my life suck?" You know?
It's also pretty hard when you are going through something hard, like you're going through something bad at work. You're not enjoying
Mm-hmm.
yourself. You're starting to question things. You're not feeling great about yourself, for example.
On so many different levels, eh? Yep,
Yeah.
yep. If you're struggling with your career and you see people thriving in their career, you're struggling in your relationship and maybe you see people thriving in their relationship. You're struggling with your relationship with your parents, for example, and you see people like having a great time with their parents.
I mean,
Like it's all of these different
I
things.
mean, like I could think of another one straight off the bat. Like if you're going through infertility issues and then you're
Yep,
seeing all these, people having babies, no issues.
that would be
That'd be
tough.
pretty devastating, to be fair.
Yep. I mean, it's not something you and I have gone through, but I can imagine it would be, yeah, devastating
Mm.
is the right word for it, right?
Yeah.
So there's just so many aspects. And of course, the tricky thing is everybody does have stuff going on.
Mm.
Like that is true without a doubt. I don't know a single person who like I actually know in real life and who I take the time to have a conversation with and know how their day is at some level who doesn't have something going on.
Well, I mean, it's probably like even with you at work, you always ask people how you're going, and normally, you'd probably say most people have something going on.
Yep, definitely. And I think like there's two reasons we don't post like our bad moments on social media. I think mostly people don't want to be a downer. And then the other thing is I think it's almost seen as a little bit attention seeking when people do
Yeah,
post.
because you're trying to Yeah, it's quite interesting, that concept because you're really just trying to show off your life when you post on there, but then you're also attention seeking if you're saying that you're going through something hard.
Mm,
You're trying to get responses from people.
100%.
It's
Like
quite fascinating, really.
why is one attention seeking and why is one not? Like, I follow this person on Instagram. Her handle is the bird's papaya. She talks about like body image and mental health and like all of this really interesting stuff, motherhood. And anytime she posts that she's struggling with her mental health, and I think at one point she started medication because she was going through not postpartum depression, the one that you go through while you're pregnant. I can't remember what that one's
Yeah, I don't know
called,
what that one
but
is.
it's like a form of depression that some people get while they're pregnant, before they give birth. And she was going going through it, and she was saying how like she basically needed to go on medication, and that medication essentially saved her life. And then she made a story about all the hate that she got for posting about struggling and like
It's bizarre.
yeah, people are like, oh, you're being an attention seeker or you're being dramatic or whatever. Like, and then there's someone else I follow who, same thing, like a social media influencer, but they went through like a really hard time and she barely talked about it on social media. But like the bits and pieces that she did talk about, she always mentioned or pointed out that she would lose followers anytime she talked
I
about
was
it.
I was gonna say probably if you
Mm,
did have a platform and you go against your normal content,
yeah,
you you probably do lose people. People get a bit more of an uproar, really, eh?
find it a bit strange. Yeah, yeah,
Mm. Well, I mean, it's even like when there's a big political issue, you'll find a lot of people who have a huge following try not to
say anything.
have a say because they don't want to lose followers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. That's true. I not that I'm an influencer. I mean, my 722 followers, I think, is how many I have on my writing Instagram page. But I absolutely throw that idea out the bin. I talk about the good things. I talk about the bad things. I mean, I am still like fairly private. Like, I never go into like huge detail about things, but I try as much as possible to be transparent about it because like again, we all know the sucky feeling when you're sitting there having a shitty day and all you see is like the beautiful moments in everyone else's lives.
People out at some Hawaiian beach
Mhm. Yeah.
that out in the sun.
Mm.
Yeah.
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 People in Bali, people in Rarotonga.
Can I just say there is an app that's actually gone around. I think it's more big in like millennial groups. Our group is Be Real.
Mm,
Like the whole concept is that it's meant to show. Well, originally it was meant to show what you're doing,
mm.
like your day to day. Like, didn't it originally you had to post at the time or something?
Yeah, or you had a very short amount of time to post. I have a feeling it was developed somewhere
France, I
in
think.
Europe. Yeah, I think it was France. But yeah, the idea is that you get a notification and you have 2 minutes to take a photo, and the photo will capture your front facing camera and your rear facing camera at the same time. So it just kind of grabs you in the moment of whatever you're doing, and you're supposed to post it. And you can retake it, like if you accidentally take a really terrible photo or you photograph something you're not supposed
Yeah.
to, whatever. But like, you're not supposed to take it a million times. And I think it actually tells your friends how many times it took you to take the photo, and then you post it. And yeah, the idea is that everyone posts at the same time, and it's supposed to be less uh
Highlight reel.
yeah, less of a highlight reel, but also less what's the word when people kind of um like intentionally ad-
Scripted.
adjust their life. Yeah, I'm blanking on the word, but basically, like when people intentionally like make their life look a certain way for social media,
Mm,
it's supposed to be not like that. It's supposed to be you being
yeah.
real, which is why I imagine they called it Be Real.
Yeah. And I think they changed it because, like we're saying, it was in France, but then it got global recognition, and then people.
Yes.
Then it's like, well, it's a bit hard if we say it in our time zone that's 2 a.m. somewhere else in the world, you know?
Mm. Oh, because that's the other thing, of course, the time will change every day. Like one day it might be 1 o'clock, one day it might be 5 o'clock, one day it might be 9 a.m., you know? But yeah, I think once it became more popular internationally,
Yeah.
they changed that. They made it so that you have 2 minutes to post. Um, but you actually don't have 2 minutes to post, but you can't see your friends'
Until you've
pictures
posted.
until you've posted, and the amount of, like, your picture will only be up the amount of time that it was going to be up
Yeah.
anyway before it's gone. I mean, you can still see your old ones, but nobody else can. Um, so yeah, I actually don't mind Be Real. I think it has kind of come down in popularity a little bit. I feel like 2 years ago it was a bit more
Yeah.
popular and it's come down a bit now. But definitely it's kind of us combating this idea of having to have everything like Instagram worthy and picture perfect and all of that sort
Which,
of
I mean,
stuff.
makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I think basically I've just been thinking that I barely, for me on social media, I barely ever post.
Yeah, no, you
I basically,
don't.
I might do one post a year.
Yeah. And
Not,
it's usually because I've nagged you and I'm like, why have you not posted anything of us?
yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of want to put up my cooking in there, to be fair.
Mm.
Like my baking pictures.
And this is the other thing. I mean, I guess we could jump into the fact that, of course, there are good things about social
Oh,
media. Like,
100%
you learn cool new recipes. You can,
inspo.
yeah, like, for all sorts of things, like clothes, yeah, it's given a voice to people who maybe previously wouldn't have had much of a voice. Like, I follow this, I'm pretty sure she is originally of like Latina descent, but she's like an astronaut in America, a female
Mm.
astronaut. She was one of the first 100 women in the world to go to space. I follow this other woman who, I think she calls it having a limb difference, but she was born with only one full arm. Her other
Ah,
arm isn't a full arm. And her videos are just like fashion videos, you know? I follow another woman who is like a bisexual, like, woman of color who wears a headscarf.
mm.
Like, if it wasn't for social media, like those three things that I've just, blurted out there, there's no way any of that sort of stuff would be on mainstream TV. So I think it's awesome that, social media has given a platform for people who otherwise wouldn't have had one.
The downside is though is that those people probably do get a lot of hate
Yeah.
as well.
Oh, definitely.
Like, there's always going to be two sides of a coin when
Mm.
it comes to this kind of stuff.
That's actually probably one of the scariest things about social media. Like, I make a semi effort to have a social media from a writing standpoint because if you want to be published as a writer, like, if you're self publishing, promoting your book through social media is one of the easiest ways to promote your book,
Which you've done it once.
which I've done once. But B, even if you go to a traditional publisher, like, they are interested if you have
Yeah.
a social media following. And in fact, a lot of influencers publish books purely because they're influencers,
Yeah.
not because they're writers, not necessarily even because they have something interesting or worthwhile to say, but just the fact that you have an Instagram following automatically means publishers are going to be more interested in you because people are interested in having in hearing what you have to say. So I kind of keep one up, but I do think about that. Sometimes I think, God, I don't know if I would actually want to have a huge social media presence because of like the harshness and the vitriol and the hate, like because people are hiding behind their keyboards, the things people say online, the comment sections in some places are just horrendous.
Oh, you have trolls, and then you've got keyboard warriors. There's a whole bunch of things. The fact that they'd never say it to your face,
Yeah,
but the fact that they're hiding behind a screen, they feel more justified that they can.
the anonymity turns people scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
So I think I'll jump into a couple of stats, and then I just want to come back into because we're going to talk about our social media experiences.
Yep.
So I kind of want to talk about that a little bit.
Mhm.
So all this is from a Yale Medical Journal.
Mhm.
This one. And basically it's just a couple of interesting bits of information that I found
Mhm.
on social media, and essentially why people are worried. Now, a lot of these are based more on teenagers, but
Mm.
it also probably does apply to adults as well. I could
Yeah.
see how it could easily translate.
Mm.
So, I mean, the first of all, it causes harm by disrupting important healthy behaviors.
Yeah.
So I guess if we're talking about it from a practical point of view, I guess that's kind of like sleep.
Yeah.
Like that's definitely one, sleep hygiene.
Mm.
I guess another one is, you're not talking to your friends because you're seeing their
Mm.
stuff online.
Mhm.
Some researchers think that exposure to social media can overstimulate the brain's reward center, so that would be that whole dopamine, correct?
Mhm.
So
Yep.
I mean, the same thing happens on your phone when you get a notification.
Yeah.
Generally, that's like a quick little dopamine hit.
Like a like or a comment or
Yep,
whatever, right? Yeah.
yep. Um, and then when this becomes excessive, it can trigger a pathway similar to addiction.
Mm.
So, fun little fact, that's also how a lot of mobile gamings get you hooked.
Mm.
Because they have, like, Bejeweled used to be, like, the basic one. The fact
Mm.
that it would be the noises, the bright, colourful colours, and the flashing lights.
And so like being in a casino.
Yeah, 100%.
Like a pokie machine, is
Yeah,
that what they call
yeah,
it?
yeah. I mean, the whole thing is to keep you hooked.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it makes sense,
Yeah.
that one there. Also, because of the dopamine hits, then people have issues with depression and
Mm.
anxiety
Mm.
because they can't regulate it properly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then you become reliant on being on social media because you're trying to get that fix
Mm.
essentially. So from 2013, this part's from statistics from 2013. 9 out of 10 teenagers between the ages of 13 to 17 use YouTube, followed by TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram, and that there's been a dramatic drop in Facebook and Twitter usage.
Mm.
So
Wait, this was 2023.
yeah,
Yeah,
from
yeah.
2023.
Yep.
So I mean, that's basically the highlight reel. YouTube. I mean, I think that's one of the biggest
Mm.
platforms.
I feel like YouTube, we can kind of come back to this. I feel like YouTube is slightly better though.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't, I
because it's
don't,
full length. Yeah,
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 I feel like in the like from the point of view of like social isolation and like mental health and making you feel a bit shit, YouTube is one of the better ones.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because it takes a while to post things some of the
Yeah.
time. TikTok is actually a bit of a bad one. I think we've mentioned
Mm.
this before because of the short span
Mm.
of the videos. They find that people that are using that more consistently are losing their attention spans
Yeah.
purely just because of the shortness of the videos.
Mm. Yep.
And you actually see that in our day-to-day society. Like even songs on the radios and that are getting shorter because they want the songs to be more adaptable to TikTok.
Yeah.
So
100%.
that's kind of crazy in its own statistics. And then I know that Facebook is considered a mom app now,
Mom.
and Twitter X. Yeah, we don't need to say anything about that. Um,
Mm.
Now another issue that they believe is more to do with the content itself.
Yeah.
So researchers, well, medical professionals, neurologists, psychologists, all that, they're worried about that you have such a large array of information in front of you,
Mm.
that things start to become normalized.
Yeah.
So things that are normally dangerous. So the example that they used is like suicidal and self harm content.
Mm.
That then start to become socialized if it's something that you're regularly seeing. Sorry. Yeah, if you normally consume, so it becomes more normalized
Mm.
these behaviors. So it makes it harder for people to pick up on
Mm-hmm.
danger sides if you know.
Makes sense.
Yep. And then I found this one interesting that 50 studies across 17 countries between 2016 to 2021 showed that eating disorders are on the increase and that it is due to the amount of exposure of unattainable physical ideals.
That I can definitely believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and then this one's more about just general safety.
Mm.
The access, this is another thing that they're worried about, is that the general safety concerns that people who target others online basically referring to predatorial behavior. So that
Mm.
doesn't necessarily mean like grooming, but it could also mean like taking advantage of your information, scams,
Mm.
all that kind of stuff. So that was just very very brief, and that was like some of the main concerns that
Yeah.
they had, but it goes on a lot deeper.
It's really funny because yeah, like usually we'll come up with a topic a few days beforehand or sometimes even the day of, and I'll be like, yeah, Matt, if you want to like do a bit of research about this and then we can have a chat about it tonight, we can. Which is basically what I did with this topic. And then I said to you, you know, let's talk about social media, let's talk about social isolation and comparison, all of this sort of stuff. You're like, oh, there isn't going to be that much stuff about it.
There is.
And then
Then I
when
started
I
thinking about it. I'm like,
when I called you at lunch, well, I think you'd also started looking into it,
yeah.
and you were like, "There's so much stuff," and I 100% could believe that. We watched a show which I think they've actually cancelled. Unfortunately, it's one of the shows that they've gotten rid of with like the TV3 buyout or whatever. But it's called Paddy Gower Has
Oh,
Issues,
yeah.
and they did a specific episode about bullying in teenagers, and they brought a child psychologist on who literally said that under the age of 16, teenagers slash kids shouldn't have smartphones
Mm.
because their brains aren't developed enough to understand. And I know when I have conversations like in my room as an optometrist about reducing screen time from the point of view of just vision, I always say to the parents, because what usually happens is I'll say, we need to reduce screen time. And then the parent will look at their child, look at me, look at their child, and be like, see, the optometrist says you need to reduce your screen time. And I always make a point to say we need to A, lead by example,
Yep.
and B, they're made to be addictive. Like if you're 14, your, is it frontal lobe?
I
Frontal
think
cortex?
so.
Frontal lobe?
I think that's
Whatever.
decision making. Yeah.
Hasn't developed completely. How are you supposed to put something down that is literally designed not for you to do that? Like as adults, we know that we pick up our phone. We're gonna be on Instagram for 10 minutes, and then half an hour, 45 minutes go by. And I always make that point because I'm like, if I, as a 28-year-old, can't put my phone down after 15 minutes when I want to put my phone down after 15 minutes, how can we expect 14-year-olds to do that,
And,
right?
and honestly, that was one of the suggestions that they recommended if you wanted to do that is lead by, like you said, lead by example.
Mm,
Like you can't be on it around your kids and expect your kids
yeah.
to not be impacted because generally kids, they respond by they might not do what you say, but they'll do what you do.
Yeah, 100%. So it's definitely like such a challenging area, and we don't even have kids, let alone teenagers. And it's something that I think about often. I'm like, the world that we live in is a little bit scary. And again, while there is huge benefits of social media, there's also a lot of downsides, and I actually think the downsides are bigger than the good stuff.
Mm. I think you
Um,
were saying on the way home that you heard that Zuckerberg and that
mm.
don't let their kids use social media.
This isn't a verified fact. I mean, it probably could be easily verified with a bit of a Google search, but
You
I've
you
definitely heard that, like, yeah, Zuckerberg and, like, the guy who initially came up with Instagram don't actually let their children use social media because, again, the algorithm is meant to hook you and they don't want that to happen to their kids. And I always think, shit, if they don't want their kids on it, then what the hell are the rest of us doing?
Hmm.
Mm,
Sorry, I'm just going to Google. Yeah, no. His LinkedIn says they don't.
yeah, there you go.
So there you go.
Yeah. If the
And
founder of
there's
Facebook
actually a lot of articles.
about it. Yeah. So
Yeah,
the founder of Facebook and he also owns Instagram right now.
and he doesn't post his kids.
Yep.
So we might just go over a little bit of how we use our social medias.
Mm,
Um, like I said, I don't have very good coping mechanisms in general, but I feel like I'm all right with social media.
yeah, I think you are too.
I'm more bad at gaming, like mobile
Mm,
gaming, and that
mm.
hooks me more than social
Should
media.
we do an episode about that?
Oh, I mean, we probably could, but hey, let's not.
Uh,
But anyway, yeah, with social media, when I was going through my real big fitness phase, I essentially just followed a whole bunch of fitness
mm-hmm.
and healthy food eating pages, recipe pages, all that kind of thing, and I found that actually motivated me and helped me work out. Like, I didn't follow people who would just stand there, you know, topless, like real muscular defined or anything like that. I'd follow the ones that would do like plans and talk about how they would do it and all that kind of thing.
Practical tips.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
practical stuff. And like I said, like ones that would mainly do like healthy eating recipes and all those kind of things. So then at least then you kind of felt a little bit motivated
Yeah,
as well.
yeah,
I didn't really get into the mindset of, oh, why can't I do that? Where I feel like there were some people that I did, but as soon as I started feeling bad, I unfollowed them
yeah. That's the way to do it, I think.
because otherwise I'd just get down into a bit of a rut.
Yeah, 100%.
And then yeah, I mean, basically now you just basically like the things that you like and just make sure that if it's upsetting you in any formal way or if it's making you feel bad, don't follow the content.
Mm, mm-hmm.
Get rid of the content.
I'm a big believer in that. Mute or, I mean, unfollow or block if you don't know the person. But even if they're your, I mean,
I'm just savage. I just go through and do a cut on all my social media. To be fair.
but if it's like someone, like for example, again, the fertility thing, you're going through fertility
Oh, okay,
problems,
yeah,
someone you know had a baby, it's not their fault. You could just mute them,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
if you just wanted to see less of that content, but you don't hate the person, obviously.
Mind you,
Yeah,
I'm just saying. Every now and again, I'll go on my Facebook and
do a cull.
do a cull if
Mm,
I don't speak to the people anymore.
that's fair.
I
Yeah.
mean, really, if they don't message me and I don't talk to them,
Then what's the point? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. This is the introvert speaking as well. You're like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I guess.
Um,
Funny thing is, though, isn't it funny that I do that? Barely anyone ever decides to add me as a friend again. Like,
mm,
it's not like I get an influx of friend requests after doing it. So, goes to show, really.
that they probably didn't even notice.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I probably use my social media in a similar way. I probably like my feed is what like fashion, some political stuff. I don't follow a lot of political stuff, and I'm selective about who I follow, but
But
I follow some political stuff.
you don't watch the news, and that's how you get
No,
your source
I
of
don't watch the news.
information.
My news source is you. And like some political accounts that I follow. Like one of my favorites is called, I think his handle is Matt IV. But he's American. He's like in his mid 20s. He's got fabulous nails, and he's just so astute. Like everything he says and every opinion he comes out with, he kind of hits the nail on the
Mm.
head. He's really good at formulating opinions. Yeah, he's probably one of my favorite people to follow. Um, so yeah, I follow like a little bit of political stuff, but not a lot. Mostly fashion, some fitness, definitely dog videos. That makes me smile, especially like big dogs like Labradors, Squaldies.
Actually, I have a lot of dog
Yeah,
info on my
I'm surprised
pages.
you didn't mention that.
Yeah, I just forgot about it.
Some cat content as well. Um, and then of course like just my normal friends. I definitely like unfollow people who, yeah, if you're an influencer and your content is like just not vibing with me, I'm just gonna unfollow because like life's too short. Social media is supposed to be like a pleasant experience, so I'm not gonna go on there and beat myself up. Definitely when I was in the process of trying to gain weight and I was feeling bad about myself, that was something I did hugely. And I just didn't follow people with body types that were completely unrealistic to
Yeah.
me, like what you were saying, I'm like, I'm not gonna follow like, a 6 foot something, size zero, blonde blue eyed person because I'm never going to look like that. And I'm just making myself feel bad by following this
Mm.
person. Not that it's that person's fault that they look like that, obviously, but especially when I was actually coming out of eating disorder, that was not the sort of content I wanted to have in front of
Which I
me.
mean makes sense because you don't want to relapse.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, even now your mum calls up and she gets worried.
She's also a Middle Eastern mum.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, I'm definitely very conscious of that. And then now that that's less of a thing, like I don't really mind who I follow, but I still make a huge effort to follow people of all sorts of different body
Mm.
types, and especially fashion accounts of people of all sorts of different body types. Recently, I've had quite a lot of like crocheting and crafting stuff come up on my feed.
I've got a fun little activity, which is what I was just looking at. I
What?
think at the end of the episode we should go through our Instagram and just say the first 10 items that are listed.
What, like on the feed that comes
Yeah,
up? Okay, we can do
I
that.
reckon that could be a bit of fun.
We
Instead
can
of
do that.
the gratitude, we could do that.
Oh, we should do one gratitude.
Okay.
It's good for you.
All right.
Okay. I mean, I've basically said what I've wanted to say. I think that's probably a nice place to stop.
Any other aspects of mental health that you want to? Because we've kind of touched on like how to do it. I mean,
Yeah.
basically in terms of what you want to do if you're using social media or if you're trying to reduce social media. Again, you want to lead by example,
Yeah.
and you want to make sure that, like, especially if you've got kids or you're younger, you want to take specific notice into the content
Yes.
that you or
Consuming.
your kids are consuming,
100%.
because that's the other thing. I mean, there's a whole other subgroup of people. I mean, generally the young boys called incels,
Oh God.
and that's basically come up
It's
from,
terrifying.
yeah, and that's come up from social media.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just them consuming people like Andrew Tate and those kind of things, like
Yeah.
those real toxic masculinity.
It's like 11, 12-year-old boys who are
Yeah,
just like so deep into this.
yeah.
Yeah. It is actually really scary.
And I mean, and again, we'll probably talk about this more when it comes to the people, because I feel like that's a whole other
Mm.
section. But yeah, you just want to make sure you're watching the content. If you're not in the headspace or you're not going through something well, very well, modify what you're watching.
Yeah.
If you, I mean, I guess it's like who's that person who, the whole clutter, the decleaning, the
Marie Kondo.
Marie Kondo. If it doesn't spark you joy, get rid of it.
Yeah.
I
100%.
mean, I guess it's the same thing can be applied to
Yeah.
social media,
Declutter
really.
your social media. If it doesn't spark joy, get rid of it.
I mean, there's a couple of people that I've just sort of defollowed recently because I haven't been enjoying the content. I'm like,
Yeah.
why should I keep doing it if it's making me not feeling great? Or I'm
No.
like, what's the point?
100%. Probably the other thing I would say is, of course, there are like apps, and I think even just normally on most iPhones, they can
Oh, screen time.
kick you out of an
Oh,
app if you
yeah, yeah, yeah.
spend too much time on it. It can lock you out. So that might be something to consider.
What was the
The
one I used? I used one. Hang on, let me find it.
Yeah, the other thing is, this is probably my biggest one. If I find myself getting into that spiral where I'm like, yeah, comparing my life to what everyone else is doing and just like getting down on myself, I remember to find some things to be grateful for and I get off my phone.
Mm.
I think that's the biggest thing. If you start feeling down on yourself, you can feel yourself like going into a spiral, put your phone down and go and play with your dog, go for a walk, listen to some music and dance, go
Read.
to the gym, read. I mean, that's probably one of my favorite things about reading is that you can't read. You can watch TV and scroll. You can't read and
Mm.
scroll.
I mean, because
Like watch TV, sorry, and crochet or like knit or do something, like something where you can just put your phone to the side, right?
I mean, in all honesty, let's be real with it. If you're gonna start feeling bad or anything, it's probably gonna be at night.
Yes, yeah, yeah,
At
100%.
end of the day, you've had a shit day.
Yep, yeah. That's when you're gonna kind of spiral and get sucked in.
Mm,
Yeah.
thinking about it.
What app you use?
The app that I used was Screen Zen.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually really good because you could set it up to allow you to have. I think I set it up to allow me to have 4 sessions of 15. Yeah, 5 sessions of 15 minutes on particular apps.
Mm-hmm.
So because it's no good just being able to block everything,
Yeah.
because there might be some situation where you need to.
Emails. Yep.
So that was a really good one. I found that quite helpful.
Yeah. All right, let's do the top 10 thing on our Instagram. So mine is friend posting cute baby. Influencer that I follow who has like a sewing business.
Ad.
Yeah, ad. Influencer I follow who or girls that invest who talks about investing, fashion, a New Zealand ad. Are we including ads?
Oh, may as well. It's
Might
super
as well.
fun.
Um, another account I follow called Brown Girls Therapy, which is like a mental health account for people of color.
You are going so much more into it than me.
And
Than I'm going to.
this is just like a suggested for me reel, and it seems like it's Harry Potter related.
I love it.
I'm
I
looking
wonder
like
where it
this
came
one,
from.
I think. Friend and another ad about Women's Fitness Academy, things women shouldn't apologize for. Having our periods, our weight, looking like hell, number of sexual partners, putting work first. Again, this isn't an account I follow, it's just sponsored.
Suggested.
Yeah,
My turn?
go.
This is a fun one. This is actually meant to be a fitness meal page, and it's currently someone peeling whiteheads off someone's nose with like a
Oh,
waxy. So I don't know why that's on
I
there.
hate that stuff.
Um, a pun advertisement. Healthy eating. I don't even know what this is.
You're painting something.
Yeah.
It's very
Oh, it's
cool.
nail. Why am I getting nail content?
Nail.
Nail content. Maybe they heard you say the word Matt and
Yeah.
nails. Couples cooking blindfolded challenge. Someone covering their car in cent coins. Game ad. Harry Potter. And our podcast. There you go.
And there you go.
That's actually it. It was the wedding episode.
Oh, there you go.
Funny. That's crack up.
Do you want to do one gratitude?
Yeah, you go first.
Day wasn't too bad. Our computer system crashed in the morning, which could have easily turned it into a hectic as day, because we're so reliant on computers, but it actually wasn't too bad. And everyone was nice and understanding, which makes a big difference.
Mine was crocheting while studying.
You're still making your scarf.
Yes.
Have you started a new project?
No comment.
That's a yes.
No comment.
All right. So yeah, we'll probably do like a second part social media next week.
Yeah, I think we'll probably do. We can do the human side, and then I think we do the security side.
Yeah, I feel like you're gonna have more to say about that one than me.
Yeah.
Yep, who knows? Maybe I will have some stuff to say about it.
It'll be interesting
A
anyway.
bit of a yapper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think everyone's gathered.
Wow. Alrighty. Any comments, any feedback, as usual, much appreciated. And we hope everyone has a good day, night, afternoon.
Oh, side note, we've actually started advertising.
Yeah, we have. We actually started a social media.
AKA, Yas has started.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. That's it.
Bye.
All right, bye guys.